Round 8 of the 2019 Formula 1 season takes us to the Circuit Paul Ricard in France. Season so far, it's been a little bit up and down. It's been a season dominated by Mercedes winning every single round this year. Lewis Hamilton picking up 5 wins, Valtteri Bottas just 2. They've not got every single pole position, and I think people are fingers crossed a little bit that hopefully this weekend can be the break from form and Ferrari, Red Bull, someone can add a little spice, add a little bit of flavour into the mix at the front. The midfield battle this year has been insane, one of the best we've ever seen, and once again going into this weekend, almost every single team that isn't Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, or unfortunately Williams for all the wrong reasons, could be in that best of the rest spot. This is only the second year since its return that we're going to France. For many, many years, since 2007, we did not have a French Grand Prix. However, the circuit is quite unique to look at. You will instantly recognise this circuit from even a helicopter shot thanks to its extreme blue and red runoff areas. You're seeing a track guide, if you want to call it that, in the background now from the old Formula 1 game. Obviously that will be updated after Tuesday this week for the new 2019 game coming out. The race itself last year was okay. It wasn't one of the best of the season, I would say, but also wasn't one of the worst. We had a brilliant first lap clash between Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas. Both consequently had to work their way back through the field. We also saw two of the home favourites last year, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, have a bit of a smash, have a bit of a tangle on lap 1 of their home race. Ocon not in Formula 1 this year, Gasly is, and in a team like Red Bull, he's going to be trying to look to make a bit of an impact, because so far in his Red Bull career, not quite gone to plan, and so far Verstappen really is the clear number 1 in that team, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. The other man having a home Grand Prix this weekend is Romain Grosjean, another driver who at the moment is doing okay, but not enough to really solidify a seat on next year's grid. He already going into the weekend had a few issues with his car, and in practice one, we'll talk about in a moment, had even more issues, so it's not looking like the best start to the weekend for him. But of course, it's also their home race for Renault, the team mega result last time out in Canada, P4 in the grid for qualifying for Daniel Ricciardo, converted into a P6 in the race for himself, and his teammate Hulkenberg a P7. Looking at the practice results then, we got the top 10 of both sessions on your screen now, and as you can see, Mercedes look to be the team to beat. 1-2 in both sessions, Hamilton topping the first session, Bottas topping the second. However, Hamilton in the second session, a little bit of a moment with Max Verstappen, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but not the cleanest of sessions from Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc, third place in both sessions. Vettel, fourth in FP2, fifth in FP1. Ferrari, I think it's pretty safe to say, are going to be scrapping for that final podium position this weekend, and it's unlikely they will be claiming their first win of the season. Max Verstappen, P4 in FP1, Pierre Gasly, P6 in FP1. Red Bull coming into this weekend with a Honda engine upgrade, which for them is very nice indeed to have. However, quite a few teams this weekend coming with updates. Ferrari, new front wing on their car. Renault seem to have a whole host of updates coming this weekend. Danny Kvyat also will have the upgraded Honda engine. Alex Albon will not. Albon finished 10th in the first practice session. However, Kvyat, who did take the new engine, will start from the back of the grid or the pit lane because he's got a grid penalty, because he's got the new engine. Hopefully all that is cleared up. In the first practice, it was the two McLarens just in front of the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo in that best of the rest fight. Lando Norris looking particularly good at this track, a track where last year in Formula 2 he didn't win, but boy did he have a good race. George Russell won last year in Formula 2 and he had a really good race as well, so maybe for those two we could see him scrapping this weekend, which Norris in Canada, not his fault, but a race from hell, you could argue, with that brake overheating and the suspension melting. It can only get better from there, surely, you would think. And Ricciardo, at his home race, P9, However, just want to quickly mention about Renault, smoke in the cockpit. Very, very strange. Both cars, you can see over on the official Formula 1 channel, if you check out the highlights from the session, smoke just pouring out of the cockpit. Seems to be something to do with the floor, rubbing against the track surface, overheating. And if they can't get that fixed overnight, that could be a major issue come the race, doing 50 or 60 laps if the floor is overheating. That could be a real, well, punch in the face for Renault at their home race. The circuit itself, in actual fact, looks to be a real tricky one this year, mainly because of tyre wear. A lot of drivers spinning in both practice sessions. In the first practice session alone, the two Red Bulls and Danny Kvyat spinning. Looks like it's going to be a real different and unique race for strategy, which I've mentioned a few times. For me, if we can have a 2 or 3 stopper race, sometimes that in itself, without lots of overtakes, can really spice up a Grand Prix. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it will be a 2-stopper. I'd be very surprised if it's a 1-stopper. However, we know Pirelli love to play it safe on tyres, so I don't know. It's all a little bit up in the air at the moment, but looking good for a unique race with lots of different strategy. FP2 then, we'll quickly mention about that. Obviously, we've mentioned the top 4, but Lando Norris P5, Carlos Sainz P7, a really strong session for McLaren. Verstappen splitting the two McLarens in P6. Gasly just behind the McLarens in P8. And it was Raikkonen and Alfa Romeo in P9. Alfa, a bit of a downwards trajectory in terms of form at the moment. So if they can get some points this weekend, I'm sure they'll be very happy at the circuit where Charles Leclerc last year for the team got his first ever Q3 in qualifying. K-Mag is P10, but has to be honest with you this weekend, not looking quite on the ball as they have been all season long. Most of the races this season, they've been looking to get into Q3. However, I'm not too sure. I'm a little bit more sceptical this weekend. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on, Grosjean already having issues in this weekend. Not crashing this time round. A fuel leak, or a water leak, I believe it was, sorry. Hampering his running in FP1. Caused him to have limited running in the second practice as well. Could be a difficult weekend for the team, and could be another difficult weekend for Grosjean at his home Grand Prix. But that midfield looking super close, which, as I always say, is going to be great. But if I was going to guess the running order, I think it's going to be Mercedes out in the front. I think they could have quite a strong race. Maybe if one of the Ferraris can get in the mix into turn 1, that could spice things up. And with the nice long straight at this circuit, that could really benefit Ferrari. However, Sector 3 seems to be much more suited, and Sector 1 much more suited towards the Mercedes. Red Bull, I would suggest, are going to be third. However, McLaren looking like they could be close to Red Bull this weekend, which would be a major turn up for the books. I don't think anyone was expecting that. Yes, I mean, at the end of last year, no one would have expected that. But even over the course of this season, if they could be the third fastest car at any weekend, that would be gobsmacking. It really would, and would really give them a bit of a punch, really. A bit, not in a negative way, but just a little bit of a boost for the team, considering recently there's been performance in the car, but the results haven't quite been there. However, Carlos Sainz 6th in Monaco, cracking job, and maybe this weekend they could repeat that, but with both cars high up in the points. So, but I think they're going to be fourth. I think maybe Verstappen will get behind the two Ferraris, then maybe the two McLarens, and probably Gasly just behind those. And then behind them, it's really anyone's guess. Is Alfa. Maybe they could try and rescue some points that they've been missing recently. Renault, a difficult start to the weekend. However, their car seems to be getting better and better and better. Racing Point, haven't mentioned them today. I've mentioned Williams, but not Racing Point. Another quiet weekend for them, to be honest with you. Stroll having a cracking race in Canada, and to be honest with you, whilst his qualifying streak still continues as one of the worst on the grid, if not the worst on the grid, having, I think it's 11 times in a row now, he's been out in Q1, which, to be fair to him, the majority of those were in a pretty awful Williams car. However, he has had a car this year capable of getting out of Q1. So I think he'll be hoping to try and end that streak this weekend, but again, looks unlikely. He's just got to hope he's in front of the Williams, which I don't think will be too much of an issue. And just a quick note on Williams, Latifi in the car in FP1, George Russell sat out FP1 Kubica. Will he be able to finally end his streak of being last on the grid every single race? Potentially, however, Russell did so good on this circuit last year. It's a circuit Kubica's never driven at in a Formula 1 car, so I think perhaps unlikely Kubica having the edge at Williams. Final few things then before we go and have a look at predictions for the weekend. Last time out, you might remember, you might not, a little bit of an incident at the front. A bit of a coming together between two drivers, and no, I'm not talking about Perez and Grosjean. Hamilton and Vettel, that book has been closed. Revealed a little bit later on this afternoon, it was that the stewards, the FIA, have looked at Ferrari's case and they've determined that there's no more evidence that they're willing to look at, and Ferrari's evidence they had gathered was not significant enough for them to try and review the penalty, and so it will stand. I'm sure a lot of people are still frustrated, which I think I still am as well, but it is what it is. We've got to move on from it, and hopefully that will put a bit of a spark for Ferrari to try and aim for something, to know that they do have a car that has been capable to win races this year, and surely it's a matter of time. And the gorilla there last year, I believe, has been replaced by a grizzly bear this year, so expect some more strange trophies this weekend. My predictions, I've gone with the Mercedes 1-2, which I don't think anyone ever really wants to see, especially at the moment. However, I think this is a circuit which is going to really suit their car, and I've gone with Valtteri Bottas for the victory. I think he's due one. Obviously winning right at the beginning of the season in Australia, then picking up the win a couple of Grand Prix later in Azerbaijan, and I don't know, it seems to be 50-50 between him and Hamilton in qualifying, just having the edge in FP2 after Hamilton, wanted to mention this actually, made a mistake down at turn 4, came back on the circuit, arguably in an unsafe manner. Awful timing from Lewis after what happened last time out, but again, if that was a penalty, then there'd be some major questions. Supposedly came on the track. Verstappen wasn't too happy, but it's practice. Nowhere near the cars were. So again, it went out of my mind. It was that insignificant. But I'm sure people would want me to mention that anyway. So I've gone with Leclerc in P3, but I think it'll just be a bit of a 50-50 coin toss-up between the two Ferrari drivers. Let me know in the comments below, what are your predictions for the French Grand Prix in 2019? Once again, sorry if the audio quality is a little bit strange at the moment, but the house, under construction, can't really control that, to be honest with you, so apologies. So if it's a little echoey, yeah, my bad. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.